Welcome to the FedLife podcast with Dan Sipe from Serving Those Who Serve. In this podcast, Dan draws from years of financial experience to help federal employees overcome challenges that every Fed can relate to. Join us for this journey as we reach, teach, and serve to help you make the right financial decisions. Now, on to the show.
How we doing, Feds? Welcome back to this episode of the FedLife podcast. Sort of doing it in between. Last episode, I gave you choices for which Dan you wanted to hear, so I'm trying a few different ones out. You can hit me up on one of our channels. Let me know which one you like. This is the FedLife podcast. I'm your host, Dan Sipe. Additionally, I am the branch manager here at Serving Those Who Serve and Lee Sipe and Associates. I want to say thank you for taking time to listen, and thank you for your service. You do not hear that enough. You will always hear it here. I will sound like a broken record. Sorry, not sorry. Going to do that. We are back today, continuing remotely for safety purposes, with the guru, the incomparable Eds Zurndorfer, for a very, very special trip. Ed is going to be our guide to the wilds of claiming Social Security. At the outset, I need to say the opinions of our guest, Ed Zurndorfer, are not the opinions of Raymond James Serving Those Who Serve. This podcast is presented for information only and should not be intended to be taken as advice. All listeners should consult their personal advisors before taking any action. Don't have an advisor? Hit us up at asked@scwserve.com because we are here, after all, to reach, teach, and serve you. Typically, we follow Ed's FedZone articles because they are dynamite, and we give you one more way and give us one more way to reach and teach. But every now and again, a special event happens, we hit all stop, come up with something a little bit different. So today, Ed will be our personal guide through the labyrinth, because Ed has filed for Social Security and has already received a payment, I believe. So he has agreed to tell us about the journey and what he learned. So this is going to be a little bit of a free-form conversation. So, Ed, am I correct? You've already filed and you've actually gotten your first check.
I received my first check yesterday, February 17th. I filed last November, so I would receive my first check in February. And there was a reason for that. Because I filed at age 70, meaning that I'm receiving the maximum amount I could receive by waiting to age 70 to receive it. I will explain why I waited to age 70 in more detail here.
Sure, and actually good segue, because before we jump into the whole process and the experience, why don't you share with listeners why you chose to wait to apply past your full retirement age to go all the way to 70?
I sat down yesterday when I got the first check and I looked back, and I had some tears in my eyes, because about 33 years ago, on January 2nd, 1988, at that time I had just gotten my accounting degree. I was working for the federal government. I started working for the federal government in the early 1970s. I was under the old system, CSRS. Mm-hmm. And CSRS employees do not pay into Social Security.
Gotcha.
I was well aware that when I retire from federal service way down the line, I will not receive Social Security, because at that time I didn't have 40 credits of Social Security. In order to get a Social Security retirement check, you have to have a minimum 40 credits. Yep. I had some, but not nearly enough. I had probably about 10 credits of Social Security from various places of very, very temporary employment as a teenager. But here's a point. I knew I was well aware of all the federal benefits, and I knew I was not going to get Social Security. Mm-hmm. After I got my accounting degree, I started my business as an accountant. I had an accounting and tax practice. In addition to working full-time as a federal employee, I had a side business. I set myself on a mission to be able to receive Social Security when I'm first eligible.
Gotcha.
It was a mission I had because I knew that I would not be able to get Social Security if I continued to work only for the federal government. I'd have to get those credits somehow, some way.
Yep.
I really didn't have the time to work for another employer, so I decided to become self-employed. So I had a business in my house, and it grew just myself, and I took on my wife as an employee. And I thank God I had a net profit for my business all those years, starting in 1988, and I did pay the Social Security tax on my net profit. Within probably 10 years, I had more than enough credits to earn a Social Security check. But I also was aware of the fact that Congress in 1985 had passed 2 laws affecting Social Security, those people who had enough to qualify for Social Security and who were covered by a pension in which they did not pay into Social Security. We're talking about a government pension.
Yep.
I would include CSRS. There are many states that have pensions in which state workers like teachers, firefighters, police officers do not pay into Social Security. They are also affected by this offset. It's called the Windfall Elimination Provision, which reduces one's Social Security. I emphasize reduces one's Social Security. It does not eliminate it, but it reduces it. And the other offset's called the government pension offset, meaning that as a recipient of this annuity, you could not really receive any of a spousal Social Security benefit. When we talk about Social Security, we're talking about your benefits, and if you're married to someone who also has to get Social Security, it's possible that their Social Security might be a lot more than yours, and you're eligible to receive, instead of yours, half of theirs, or God forbid they pass away and get all of theirs. Well, this government pension offset that Congress passed essentially eliminated that. I can't get any of my wife's Social Security, but I can get my own Social Security, but it's going to be subject to the reduction, the WEP, the Windfall Elimination Provision. I was well aware of that, but I also knew that the way this Windfall Elimination Provision is set up, that if you work for a substantial number of years, certainly more than 10 years, even more than 20 years, and your pay and your Social Security wages or your net self-employment income, in my case, is large enough, you can overcome the effect of the WEP. Mm-hmm. The reduction will be less the more so-called substantial years you have. So I was on a mission to not only be covered by Social Security, pay into it, but to earn enough so that when I do file for Social Security, that the effect of the windfall will be minimized, maybe even eliminated. That was my goal here. But I have to tell you, Dan, that I got a lot of people who thought I was crazy. I had CSRS employees, CSRS annuitants I was doing their taxes for, and they say to me, "You're crazy. You're a fool. Here, you're working your tail off, paying into Social Security, and yet the government," and they said to me, "They're stealing your money." I said, "Wait a minute, they're not stealing my money. I'm sorry, they're not stealing. This is, in my opinion, this is a very fair law. This is a fair law." And I would say to the person, I want you to think about an employee who's covered by the other retirement system, FERS, who does pay into Social Security. I want you to deep down, think about something. Do you think it's fair for a person like me, who is a relatively Johnny-come-lately from paying into Social Security, that I will ultimately get a benefit from Social Security that is as relatively high as this FERS employee who paid his or her entire life into Social Security? Many FERS employees worked in private industry before they came into the federal government. They paid into Social Security then, and now they're paying Social Security. Tell me, just use your gut feeling here. Put your emotions aside here. Just take your gut feeling. Do you think it's fair? And they say, "Yeah, you're probably right." I said, "Well, guess what? That's why it's a good law." But Congress also said, if you work long enough and you pay enough into Social Security, you have some decent wages, decent net self-employment, you may not even be subject to the WEP. So I made it my point that for all these years to have enough income to work my tail off. I expanded my accounting tax practice. I got a broker's license. I was selling securities. Securities. I was getting commissions. I got an insurance license. Just enough to generate enough income to have enough years of what's called substantial Social Security earnings.
You got your 30.
I continued on that vein, Dan, And by the time I reached my full retirement age of 66, I had quite a few years of Social Security earnings, and I was actually eligible to start drawing Social Security at my full retirement age, 66. And the reason I say I waited till 66, I could have taken it at age 62. But if you take Social Security before your full retirement age, the earliest age you can take it is 62.
Right.
Your Social Security benefit is going to be reduced because you took it before your full retirement age. That's true for anybody. Also, I didn't have enough years of substantial earnings, so if I would have taken Social Security before my full retirement age, in addition to being reduced because of my age, it would have been reduced because of the WEP. That's two reductions there that I didn't have to be subject to if I didn't take it.
Makes sense.
So here we are, age 66. I'm still working, and I intend to keep working. I'll get back to that in a moment. The incentive here is that if an individual reaches his or her full retirement age, what is full retirement age? It depends what year you're born. If you're born between 1943 and 1954, your full retirement age is 66 years old. If you're born before 1938 rather, your full retirement age is 65. If you're born in 1955, your full retirement age is 66 years and 2 months. If you were born in 1956, your full retirement age is 66 years and 4 months. Maybe you know somebody who was born in 1956. I don't know.
I might know one. Yep.
And if you're born after 1959, your full retirement age is 67. What Social Security will tell you is that if you don't take your Social Security at your full retirement age, you wait, you're going to be rewarded. Just like we take money away, if you take it before your full retirement age, we will give you more money if you wait to take your Social Security. In fact, what they're going to give you, if you wait, for every year you wait past your full retirement age before you start taking your Social Security, they will give you 8% more per year in benefits for every year you wait. Up until what age? 70. After age 70, there is no incentive to delay your Social Security because you're not going to get any more so-called delayed retirement credits. By waiting to age 70, I potentially could get 32% more in Social Security benefits by waiting.
Gotcha.
So I did that. Meantime,
there you go.
Keep working. I'm going to get more benefits because for every year you continue to work, your benefits will go up. As long as you keep working, your benefits are going to go up because Social Security every year, Dan, they are recomputing your benefits based on what? Your 35 highest years of earnings, no matter when they were. They're always looking at 35 years. So what I'm saying is what I was earning in the year I was age 66 was, and that was in 2017, was, in terms of Social Security, was a lot more than what I was earning in the year 1982. You know what I was earning in Social Security wages in 1982? Zero, because I was a full-time federal government. So that zero is being replaced now, which means during the year 2017, Social Security computed my benefits. They were much higher than what they were compared to what they told me I was the year before that. And that's been going on every year.
Gotcha.
Now we're up to the year 2021. I turned 70 years old last month. I knew this is it. They're not going to give me any more delayed retirement credits. So last November, I went online to apply for my Social Security. Just as a pitch here for serving those who serve, we talk all about applying for Social Security at our Social Security webinar, which next one will be held on March 16th. I encourage anybody listening, please attend our Social Security webinar. You'll learn a lot of things about Social Security you may not even be aware of. Okay, March 16th.
You will. And we pretty much run them every month. We've got our core group that we just keep rotating through because they're the ones that have the most impact. And then there'll be specialty ones that we do that'll pop up, maybe every other month, but they're definitely there for you.
So I applied online, and I encourage people to apply online for Social Security. You go to www.socialsecurity.gov, apply. It's very simple to get online there.
Sure.
And it really takes you. It takes you just a matter of no more than an hour to apply online. They ask you questions,
Wow.
date of birth, and things. Not that hard. But one of the questions they asked you online: are you or were you covered by a pension plan in which you did not pay into Social Security?
Ding ding.
Well,
Yes.
What do you have to do? What do you have to do? What do I have to do? Check the box. Sure,
Yep.
I was. Sure, I was. Because Social Security has to know that.
Yep.
And submitted the application. Within 1 day, I got an acknowledgement of Social Security receiving my application. About a week later, a Social Security counselor called me, just wanted to get more information about that pension plan. The person said, "What pension plan were you or are you covered by?" I said, "CSRS." Now, I got to tell you something. One thing I got to tell you about this. When I said CSRS, I'm receiving a CSRS annuity.
Mm-hmm.
The counselor, who is a Social Security representative, she works for the
Gotcha.
Social Security Administration.
Gotcha.
You know what she said to me? You know what she asked me, Dan?
Please don't say she said, "What's that?"
Close to, who offers that pension? Who pays it out?
Well, it has been a while since anybody could get it, Ed. Now, let's be a little bit fair here, but yes, I got you.
Then I said OPM. Then she said, "Who's that? Who's OPM?"
You're yanking me. Really?
I fell off my chair.
Wow. Okay. Social Security, we love you. You know, you're all feds. But let me put it this way, and I'm dead serious about this. I have had people call me and let me know when, over my 35 years in business, maybe in a moment we weren't the best we could have been. And the way I've always viewed that is, if something was happening in my business, I would want somebody to tell me. If you're listening to this and you're happy with Social Security, understand we love you. We're on your side. If this was happening in your business, you kind of want somebody to tell you. So this is why we're doing this. So go ahead, Ed.
So we got it all straightened out. She said, "When do you want your first check?" I said, "Well, I'm turning 70 in January. I therefore want my first check in February." Now, ladies and gentlemen, anybody listening, be very careful, because what she said to me, you realize that you actually could receive your first check in January. I said, "I'm well aware of that, but I don't want it." Oh, she said, "Well, wait a minute, though. You know, if you get your first check in January, we will give you a 6 months retroactive payment back to the year 2020. I said, "I know what you're saying here. What Social Security is going to do is, if somebody doesn't wait the full year of their delayed retirement, in my case, January, that's the fourth year, end of the fourth year.
Gotcha.
They'll say to you, well, we'll give you, if you get your check anytime before before the end of that that month of your birthday,
Right.
they'll give you 6 months retroactive payment, but it's based on the previous year's calculation. In other words, I only would have gotten 24% increase in my annuity, and that will be for the rest of my life. You have to be very careful about this.
Gotcha.
I said to her, no, I want the full 32%, so you make sure that the first check is in February. The reason I'm saying this is the way Social Security makes their payments is that anybody receiving a payment in any given month, like now, February, had to be alive for all of the previous month. So my payment, had I taken it in January, it would have assumed I was still alive all of December, but it would have been based on last year's
Gotcha.
amount as of January, only a 24% payment. You got to be very specific to Social Security. Be very specific. I cannot emphasize that enough.
That's a great tip, Ed. That's a real world experience there. Although I got to tell you, brother, I just have this image of you like you were standing next to Howie Mandel on Deal or No Deal and just slamming the box going, no deal, Howie. I won it in February.
No, I advise people about, we've gone through A to Z, what you got to do to apply for your check, and when you should specify when that check is. I had one client. She's moving out of the country. She turned actually 66 years old a year ago January, January 2020, and she's going to move out of the country in November. She said to him, well, I want my first check in November. So I said, Arlene, don't do that. Don't do that. She said, well, won't they give me some increase because I'm delaying the start of my Social Security, my delayed retirement? It's 8% per year. It's actually 2/3 of 1%. That's per month. Do the math
right.
here. 12 months, 12 times 2/3 is 8%. They'll give me up to November, 10 months.
Yep.
So I'll get more. I said, Arlene, they don't do that. They're not. What they're going to do is they're going to give you what your amount would have been had you started at full retirement age, and they'll add 6 months of a lump sum payment retroactive. They'll make it up to 6 months retroactive. She said, oh, I didn't know that. I said to her, Arlene, your birthday's in January. You need to get your first check in February to get that 8% increase. It has to be a full year. I just saved her a lot of money.
Yes, you did, Ed.
I'm happy to report, number one, thank God I made it through the month of January. I made it. I lived through the month of January. There's a reason I'm saying that.
Well, that's important. I know. I'm chuckling because I know the backstory to this, but go ahead.
Lo and behold, I checked, and the checks are always directly deposited into a bank account. Social Security checks are always directly deposited in a bank account, and they're directly deposited on either the second Wednesday of a month, or the third Wednesday of a month, or the fourth Wednesday of a month. When you get your direct deposit of your Social Security, it depends on what day of a month that you were born. If you were born in any month between the 1st and the 10th of the month, you get direct deposit of your Social Security check on the second Wednesday of a month. If you're born between the 11th of any month and the 20th of the month, you get direct deposit on the third Wednesday of a month. And then if you're born after the 20th, you get direct deposit on the fourth Wednesday of the month. So I was born on the 17th of January, so meaning I get direct deposit on the third Wednesday of the month, which happened to be yesterday, February 17th.
Gotcha.
And it was there. That was my story with Social Security. I do want to point out some very important things for people to know. My wife, she is about almost 5 years younger than me. And she is going to be entitled to her own Social Security. Thank God she's in good health. We're really encouraging her to wait until age 70 to take hers, and I think she probably will. The question comes up, if I were to die, would she be able to receive my Social Security? And the answer is yes. It's called a widow benefit. A widow benefit. What is the widow benefit? She would receive all of my Social Security. A widow benefit, a widower benefit could be paid out for someone who is over age 60. So she's over age 60. So if I were to die, she would be eligible to receive my Social Security, and then when she turns 70, she can switch back to hers. If hers is more, she could switch back to hers if she wanted to. But here's the point I want to make. Number one, my Social Security has been reduced because of the Windfall Elimination Provision, the WEP. It's been reduced about $400 per month, $400.
Okay.
So the question comes up, if I die and she is eligible, of course, for my Social Security, what amount of Social Security would she receive? What I was receiving or what I should have received without the WEP? Answer?
Ding, ding.
The full amount of Social Security, no WEP. When I pass away, the WEP gets buried with me. It goes away. Now, many widows and widowers are not aware of that. I hate to say this, but many people in Social Security are unaware of this. Unfortunately, there have been widows and widowers who've applied for their deceased spouse's Social Security, who were subject to WEP, and Social Security just gave them what their deceased spouses were receiving.
You got to have somebody on your side who understands this stuff. I mean, you just do. Folks, that's why we do these podcasts. That's why we do the webinars. That's why Ed writes so much. There's tons of stuff we're just kicking out so that you have the ability. And my subscribers, and I do have them now, and that means the world to me. Share this one around. Please, please, please promise me you'll share this one. Okay? Even if those people don't subscribe, I'm not trying to boost my numbers. This is just really important. And this is going to be able to help a lot of people because this is real world stuff.
I just want to make one more point about that, Dan, about what
Sure.
I've been doing. We have our estate. We have a estate plan. We have a living trust, things like that. And part of our estate plan, we have what I call letters of instruction. Mm-hmm. One part of my letter of instructions are how my wife would apply for survivor benefits under the federal government, because she's entitled to many of my benefits as a widow of a federal annuitant. We talk about this. Not again. I don't want to push this too much, Dan, but we have a survivor benefits webinar.
Keep pushing it, Ed.
Next one will be on April 13th.
Yep.
But it's important that everybody who is an employee or annuitant who has never attended a survivor benefit seminar or webinar attend such a thing. You'll be amazed what family members could be entitled to and how they need to apply for these benefits.
Yep.
Well, as part of my letter of instructions, I talk about these survivor benefits, and I have a separate section about what she needs to do in terms of applying for my Social Security benefit, including making sure that the people at Social Security know that once I'm not here, that WEP doesn't apply, that she's going to get the full amount of my Social Security.
Absolutely.
It's stated in writing, part of my letter of instructions.
And if you predecease me, brother, and they give her any trouble, you send her to us. We'll watch out for her. I promise you. Okay. We'll send Wes in there. He's big, strong, and scary. One of the things I know is that you really take things to heart, and you want to get it right, but you want to help others get it right. I knew that this experience would become one of your teaching tools. What lessons do you want our feds to learn from your journey? If you could kind of kick it out in a few sentences, what would you really like them to take away from this?
What I want feds to take away from this is knowledge is power. Knowing the rules. Social Security, know what you're entitled to, what your spouse is entitled to is very important. Mm-hmm. No one expects you to learn everything right away.
Sure.
But go to people who will be able to explain things that you understand them. If you don't get it the first time, go again.
Yep.
This is, again, I keep saying this, and I'm sure you appreciate this. These webinars are so important. And how often do we offer these webinars, Dan?
We have something going. We have something going every single week. Our core series keeps going through every month, and then some specialty ones drop in there. Folks, we put it out on Facebook. We put it out everywhere we can. If there's a topic that you think should be a webinar, although Ed's pretty thorough, let us know. We will put it out there for you.
Attend often.
Yes.
Often.
Yep.
Because the more you hear it, the easier it's going to be to comprehend. Certainly, there's no lack of opportunity to ask questions. Serving as a service allows you to do a follow-up in terms of complimentary meetings to work with an advisor. We can ask questions.
Yep.
It's the first two meetings are complimentary. Ask your questions. Most of these reps are well up on various federal employee benefit issues, including Social Security. And if they don't know the answer, they do not hesitate to contact me. And I'm more than happy to answer any questions.
Hey, Ed, one of the things that I think would be kind of helpful right now, because I know how thorough you are, to kind of round out this episode, why don't you talk about how you organized yourself and pulled your data together to file? so that you're able to just go in, boop, 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 go through the website the first time. I know they put up a checklist. I'm sure yours is much more comprehensive. So what did you go through to make sure that you had all the I's dotted, the T's crossed when you went into that website?
Well, I have a Social Security file, and the first thing I made sure I had a copy of was my statement. For starters, everyone should set up their own account on the Social Security website. If you don't have an account on the Social Security website, you just go on the website www.socialsecurity.gov/my account. That's MY, no space, ACCOUNT, and set up your account where you can see what your benefits are. Your Social Security benefits, it tells you if you're eligible for Medicare, talks about family benefits, all that thing. That's a starter. And then when you think you are ready to file for your benefits, you should have a statement in front of you. You don't have to have, let's say, your birth certificate. They used to request that. You don't need that. Now, if you are filing for a spouse's benefits, you may need a little more information. They're going to need more information about the person you're married to, how long you've been married to that person. But generally, you really don't have to have that much of official documents in front of you.
Okay, good.
I mean, they are going to ask you to confirm your Social Security number. They're going to ask you where you were born, that type of thing. Like I say, they're going to ask you if you're covered by a pension plan like CSRS. They're going to ask you that question. Please answer the question correctly.
Yep.
Don't try to hide the fact that you didn't. Don't try to hide it, because they can get very nasty about that. Again, it's really not all that complicated.
Oh, that's great.
It's something. It's almost as easy as applying for Medicare. We can talk about that another day about applying for Medicare, and it's a very worthwhile topic to talk about, because not everybody applies for Medicare when they turn 65. We can talk about some of the possible complications with that.
Sure.
But applying for Social Security, just for yourself, you really don't need all that much preparation.
Okay. So as far as the, going to the website application experience, pretty much give that a thumbs up. It was a good experience for you?
Absolutely. Very, very, very satisfying. And as I say, when I got that check yesterday, and I saw it in the account, it brought tears to my eyes, because it was a culmination. I feel I accomplished my mission. I just want to say one other thing here. Yes, my benefits were reduced because of the windfall, but many people are not aware of the fact, and I point this out during the Social Security webinar, that if you're drawing Social Security and you continue to work, your benefits, your Social Security monthly benefit will increase even while you're working. And there's a reason for that. Every year, Social Security is recomputing your benefits based on the 35 highest years of earnings, whenever they were. What that means is, after I file my 2020 taxes and they see what my net profit was and the Social Security tax I'm paying on 2020 income,
sure,
Social Security in July or August are going to recompute my benefits, and they're going to see what I earned in 2020 is more than what I earned in 1985. And they're looking, you know what I earned in Social Security in 1985? Zero. Again, I didn't start working substantially under Social Security until 1988. So that zero now from 1985 is being replaced by that positive number from 2020, which means Social Security will compute a higher monthly benefit. I'm going to get a letter in September, maybe October, from the Social Security Administration. Dear Mr. Zurndorfer, we have just recomputed your benefits, and based on your earnings from 2020, we are going to give you a monthly increase in your check. And that monthly increase will be retroactive to when? February, this past February.
Wow.
They make it retroactive. And Dan, this is going to go on every year I continue to work. I'm going to get these retroactive increases as I continue to work.
That's a sweet deal.
It may be that I'll get eventually 30 years of substantial earnings, Social Security earnings, to the fact that they're going to remove that WEP, that $400 or so I'm losing will come back. How about that one for something to think about? The WEP is going to go away as I continue to work.
Yep, that's a good life goal.
Dan, you can't lose in this business if you continue to work.
Couldn't agree with you more.
And it really helps when you love your work.
And folks, he does. We joke around with plugging the webinars and things like that, but he truly loves doing this. You know, Ed and I first met several years ago, and it was about a 3-hour conversation. And I think at that point, we both knew we were going to work together because we'd sort of been on different paths and we were pretty passionate about things. I'm going to be 65 this year. You know, in my field, when I first came in, people would look over their glasses at me and say, "How long have you been doing this?" And now they look over their glasses at me and say, "How much longer are you going to do this?" So I sort of asked that question with Ed. He said, as far as what he's doing to help feds, teaching, writing, things like that, forgive me, I'm going to quote you. He goes, I'll either die at my keyboard or in front of a room teaching. Well, now we've added webinars as a possibility. So now you got 3 different ways that you can go at it. So you're welcome for that. But Ed, really, this is a passion project for him. He pours himself into it. So by all means, hit those webinars. He's right. Come to more than one. Ask questions. Do the follow-ups. And it's going to make this a heck of a lot easier. Right, Ed?
Absolutely.
And see, here's the thing. This is what my children are beginning to learn now because they're finishing up their education. There's a whole lot of life that's an open book exam. Okay, you are allowed to have notes when you go talk to the Social Security people. You are allowed to go to Ed's webinars and take notes and have your notebook. They don't make you put the notes away. You can have them right there with you. So it's an open book test. By all means, make sure you take advantage of them. You know, Ed, I want to thank you personally and also on behalf of all the feds for sharing this with us. We're going to make sure that we kick this out through every channel. It's going to be a relatively short podcast for us. I can tell you right now, I'm going to make every one of my team listen to it. And I appreciate you doing it. Brother, I know why you do what you do, so I hope you take this from my heart. Your dad would be proud of you for what you're doing today and what you do every day. What you do every day to help feds.
Thank you for giving me this opportunity to continue to educate the feds and to accomplish what I call my mission in life, to help individuals be able to retire in the right way and to have a comfortable, secure retirement. That is my goal, my mission. I feel it's my mission.
We're both on the same page on so many things, and I think we could both agree that there was somebody with a much bigger brain and much smarter than both of us that figured out when we were supposed to meet, put us on each other's paths, and I consider that a blessing, and I know you do as well. Okay, folks, that's a wrap. You heard it. You heard it from the guru as far as his journey through Social Security. Really good to hear that the interfaces and everything are easy to work with, but probably not a bad idea to start putting together your own notebook. And there's no better way to do that than to read Ed's articles, listen to the podcast, come to the webinars. You know, there's really no easier way to learn. Ed comes to you. I'm assuming at some point in time, we'll be on the other side of COVID. We get questions, will we have live stuff? Yeah, but we're still going to keep the webinars going because in the space of about 60 days, we went from probably the best resource in the DC area. And now I'm not joking. We go from Iowa to the Ivory Coast. We go from Washington to Wiesbaden. We have people literally from all over the world, all over the country that they're now able to reach. So it's just really gratifying to see this. Share it with folks that aren't even in the area because they can take part of that. They will thank you. And be sure to read Ed every month in the Fed Zone and also listen to the podcast and make sure that you share them with your friends. So for Ed, the crew at Serving Those Who Serve, and me, Dan Sipe, I will end as I always do. Good luck. Godspeed. And above all, remember, it is your Fed life. Make it a great one. because you deserve it, and because also Ed is knocking himself out, working past age 70 to make sure you have the resources to do it. So please take advantage of it. You deserve it. Stay well, everybody. We are out.
Thank you for listening to the FedLife podcast. Click the subscribe button below to be notified when new episodes become available. The information covered and posted represents the views and opinions of the guest and does not necessarily represent the views or opinions of Serving Those Who Serve or Raymond James. The content has been made available for informational and educational purposes only. The content is not intended to be a substitute for professional investing advice. Always seek the advice of your financial advisor or other qualified financial service provider with any questions you may have regarding your investment planning. Securities offered through Raymond James Financial Services Incorporated, member FINRA SIPC. Investment advisory services offered through Raymond James Financial Services Advisors Incorporated. Serving Those Who Serve is not a registered broker-dealer and is independent of Raymond James Financial Services.
Raymond James is not affiliated and does not endorse the opinions or services of any of the quoted professionals or their respective firms. Any opinions are those of Dan Sipe and not necessarily those of RJFS or Raymond James. This case study is for illustrative purposes only. Individual cases will vary. Raymond James is not affiliated with and does not endorse the opinions or services of the quoted professionals or their respective organizations. Neither Raymond James Financial Services nor any Raymond James financial advisor renders advice on tax issues. These matters should be discussed with the appropriate professional. Investing involves risk, and you may incur a profit or loss regardless of strategy selected, including diversification and asset allocation.